of course, it goes without saying, Keith Olbermann used to be a host at MSNBC before he too was fired from his position. But let's get to the details here because, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, real quick on one thing there. Nice lib-on-lib crime there because,
Well, we're back on the Young Turks today with Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, and they are talking about MSNBC firing Joy Reid. And some people, such as Megyn Kelly famously, are pretty happy that she got fired. They think she deserves it. They think she was an anti-white bigot, basically, that her whole social justice shtick was revolting. I too am very much anti-social justice. I think it is the road to hell, basically. But and of course there's people on the other side who are saying that it was a travesty that she was fired, and of course, why was she fired? Because of racism. So they're going to play a couple of clips, starting with this one from Keith Olbermann, who is a complete nutter. And let's see what he has to say, and then what Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks have to say.
Joy Reid was fired by MSNBC. There's lots of other ways to phrase this, and I'm sure they will dress this up to some degree. This is contributing to the entirety of the Trump racism enveloping this country, and it is part of a stampede to see which formerly liberal company can get to the head of the racism line, the approved racism line, as fast as possible. And Joy Reid getting removed from the primetime lineup of MSNBC is MSNBC's biggest contribution yet.
Joy Reid has been fired from MSNBC. And Keith Olbermann thinks that race has something to do with it, even though she will be replaced with 2 Black hosts and a Latina host. So I don't think it's about racism.
Yeah, well, for some people who've lost their minds like Keith Olbermann, everything's about racism.
Yeah.
So although there is one thing that Joy Reid did that was positive, that might have actually been the issue. We'll get to that in a sec.
Now, before we get to that, I should also note that Keith Olbermann is now pointing fingers at other MSNBC hosts and essentially demanding that they step down for Joy Reid's sake, and that includes Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, and Chris Hayes. Let's go to his post where he says, "Dear Maddow, if you go on the air tonight, or at a minimum go on without condemning the overt racism of the people who give you $25 million a year, you are complicit. Same for you, Lawrence O'Donnell and Chris Hayes. Protest or you are all Joe Scarborough." Now, of course, it goes without saying, Keith Olbermann used to be a host at MSNBC before he too was fired from his position. But let's get to the details here because, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, real quick on one thing there. Nice lib-on-lib crime there because, unfortunately some version of liberal Democrats say racism about everything.
I like that term, lib-on-lib crime. God, the Young Turks are really coming in hot these days. Ever since they did their big turn towards the extreme right wing and became bigots and racists and fascists, according to their former fans, they've actually come up with some good takes. So lib-on-lib crime, that's a nice one. Might use it myself.
And so Rachel Maddow normally does that, but now Olbermann is flipping it on Rachel Maddow and saying you better say racism, even though it makes no sense in this context.
That's a good point here. So the revolution always eats its own. So Joy Reid was famous for, crying about racism at every turn. Keith Olbermann apparently also, the little I've seen of him, that guy is just unbearable. Yeah, always crying about racism at every turn. And and now Keith Olbermann is calling out other MSNBC presenters, hosts, saying that if they don't condemn Joy Reid's firing, that they are racist. This is brilliant.
Otherwise, you don't deserve that salary or whatever. To be fair to Keith Olbermann, Rachel Maddow has that job purely because of Keith Olbermann. So as much as I dislike Keith Olbermann, I'm always fair, and he absolutely made sure that she got that job.
I hate all these people. Okay, let's just move on. Okay, right. So who will Joy Reid be replaced with? Simone Townsend Sanders, former Bernie Sanders press secretary. She was also an advisor to both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Alicia Menendez, that's actually Bob Menendez's daughter, but Yeah, that's all I have about her. She also hosts a show on MSNBC. And then you have Michael Steele, former Republican and also former chair of the Republican National Committee. So
Uniparty.
Yes, so all three of them actually had been hosting a different show on MSNBC called The Weekend. The Weekend will now have 3 new hosts, and these 3 individuals will be hosting a panel show in the hour where Joy Reid's show is currently airing. Her last episode will take place this week. Now, we have criticized Joy Reid plenty on this show for making statements like this.
And I think it's important to say that, anyone who has experienced or been in the United States for any period of time and experienced this country's history and knows it cannot have believed that it would be easy to elect a woman president, let alone a woman of color. Let's just be clear. And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swift. She had the Swifties. She had the Beehive. Like, you could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And I think that's still true.
So look, I gotta say, her election analysis was awful. What she had to say in spreading weird conspiracy theories after the first assassination attempt against Donald Trump, I thought that was awful. But we are the fairest show, and there were some examples of her doing commentary.
Yeah, well, there's Joy Reid for you. Yeah, that was some pretty awful election commentary. I love watching that clip of her saying how flawlessly Kamala Harris ran her campaign. Absolutely beautiful. But she's said a lot of other dodgy stuff too. She's a hater, and when the haters get their comeuppance, nobody's gonna cry. Yeah, well, some bunch of the liberals will cry. You can see clips of Rachel Maddow. In fact, I'm going to do a separate video on that. Rachel Maddow actually called her bosses racist, or implied that they were racist for firing Joy Reid. So that will be fun. Make sure to watch that clip. And yeah, the left eats its own. The revolution eats its own. These people deserve to be off the air. I don't really care if they get fired. I'm sure they'll be replaced by other talking heads and puppets. And, I suppose they have their audience, although these days it's not much of an audience. The legacy media are dying, and rightfully so, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, if you have anything to add, let me know in the comments. I do read all the comments and reply to quite a few. I do like the give and take. So, in the meantime, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.